Hello, welcome to day 8. I've been pretty cool with this challenge so far, but I think today is just a day where I have a headache and I'm tired and I don't want to do my work, but I'm going to keep pushing through and I'm going to do this challenge because I'm only 8 days in and I got a lot to go. So let's keep doing this, guys. Okay. So, how the heck do you design a setting even? It's hard. You may be tempted to skip this step early on because drawing backgrounds sounds really boring or it might sound too complicated. You're like, I don't even know what perspective is. How the heck am I supposed to draw a background? I felt all these things when I started comics, and many of my early comics do not have backgrounds at all, or they are poorly done, and honestly, sometimes I still rush things, and they don't look so good. However, I have learned a lot from designing settings for 9 Point. Again, I have several vlogs you can go watch if you would like to watch my process on making some actual settings. But the process of doing those has really helped me understand how to make them, and having your settings designed and drawn out helps so much. It takes a lot of the thinky work out of it. You do all the complicated stuff up front, and then when you're drawing your comic, you can just scribble in your background and you know exactly what you're putting in. So if you don't want your character sitting in blank white rooms or in really bland settings, you gotta design your settings. Where do you start? If you've never really drawn backgrounds before and it sounds really intimidating, the best thing to start with is to compile some research about backgrounds and settings. Research settings, if it's something, say, historical like 9 Point, where it's not historical, it's medieval inspired fantasy. So I had to study a lot of what do medieval castles look like, what do medieval homes look like. I had to go research a lot of how the woods looks, because there's lots of wilderness and characters living out in the woods and etc. So I had to do a lot of research on what all that stuff looks like in the first place. If you don't have to do any deep dives into research, say you're doing a modern setting, maybe in a setting you're familiar with, it still really helps to just grab some references, whether it's photographs of an interior of a house or photographs of street settings, whatever it is, even if it's photographs you yourself take of settings near you. Compile all these and get them in front of you. See what is around, what can give you inspiration. It'll take some of the thinky work out so you don't have to come up with architecture all on your own. If you are doing, say, a fantasy setting where you're very inspired from other people's fantasy settings, definitely go grab those, see what you like about them, and kind of try seeing what they do and applying it to your own work. If it's you like a certain style of fantasy castle, say you love the castles in Lord of the Rings or something, go study those, see what they do right, grab them as your inspiration and moosh them together to create new castles. And it's also very helpful to use 3D interior design tools. I don't really know any off the top of my head because I usually work off photographs, but things like that will be really helpful. You can find them online probably, where you can just design rooms with pre-made furniture and assets and colors and wallpaper and stuff like that, and you can just design a whole room and then take a picture of it, and there is your customized living space for your character. Great tools. So once you have all that compiled and you kind of have a good idea of what you're going for a specific setting or a few settings, that is when I usually start creating a floor plan or a map for each setting. So I usually start with drawing my settings from above in a really simplified form. That's what I mean by floor plan. So for example, if I'm drawing, say, a character's living room, I'm going to draw a rectangle that encases that is just the outline of the room, and then I'm going to draw little rectangles and circles inside it that show this is where the couch is, this is where this table is, here are the doors, here are the windows. And it's really simple. I don't really go into detail. It's just to figure out the placement of things and to get kind of brainstorm ideas of what I want in the room. And if I'm doing, say, an outdoor setting, let's say a path through the woods, I might draw imagine you're looking at like Google Maps and you're seeing where all the roads go. I might do something like that where I just draw on the roads. I might mark off a few key, if it's a forest, a few key trees or spots or maybe a stream or something that I know are going to happen or go through in the scene. And the same with if I'm drawing like a city street, I might draw in where specific buildings are, maybe where some cars are, whatever it is. I just mark it all down really quick from above so I can get a very good sense of where everything is all over the place. I find it also is a really easy place to begin with instead of having to worry about turning everything 3D. That is the next step. But for now, you're just figuring out where things are and kind of what you want placed in this setting. So once you have that done, you got the planning step out of the way, that is when you want to kind of turn things three-dimensional. I don't mean literally like 3D model them. They don't have to be perfect. But what I usually do is I'll take my floor plan and I'll put it into 2-point perspective. That is where instead of looking at something like head on, you're kind of looking at it tilted so you can see several sides of whatever you're drawing. So for example, if I'm drawing a room, I will look at it from a few different angles. I'll draw out what, the doors look like, what the furniture looks like. I'll sketch in the walls and the ceiling and the floors and just kind of start throwing in the actual things that are going to be in the room in some actual detail. And this is really important to do just so that you understand how everything will look once it's actually in your comic. Like, these sketches don't have to be perfect. Usually what I'll do is I'll also throw a character in so I can see how they look like to scale with all the furniture or whatever in the setting. It's just a practice run for when your background actually shows up in your comic. Yeah, and I'll draw out what specific important set pieces look like. If there's a special painting that a character is supposed to look at, I'll design that painting, etc., etc. And from there, once you have everything worked out in kind of like quote-unquote 3D, you can start adding in personal character stuff. So for example, once you've drawn all the structures, like all the furniture or something in this room, you can start to decorate everything with personal touches from your characters. The example I'm thinking here is, say you're drawing a character's bedroom. How do they decorate their own room? Is it filled with like photographs and stuffed animals and band posters? Is it messy? Is it clean? Is it small? Is it big? Whatever. Sorry, small and big is actually figured out during the floor plan stage. Anyways, you basically are decorating the setting to fit whatever it is. This is where you add in all your little details that make it stand out and make it be special than just a blank living room. Just a bland old living room that no one lives in. This will give it more lived-in touches. If, say, you're doing an outdoor scene, let's say you're in the woods, like what I was trying to draw for 9-point, you might want to pick out a few choice plants or flowers that are going to be in that scene. Maybe some of the fauna, like, at least for 9-point, we picked some very specific animals and plants that would be in each setting, so that's something we included in there. If it's autumn time in the woods, this is where you add in that the leaves are changing color, or maybe they're falling off the trees. Like, this is where you detail everything. Is there snow on the ground? Stuff like that. If it's a street setting, this is where you start adding in details on cars and like adding layers and textures to your street, like adding street lamps and garbage cans and storefronts and signs. And you fill it up. You make the room or the setting or whatever feel lived in and vibrant and detailed. And then finally, you're going to want to figure out your colors or your kind of values if you're working in black and white, as well as lighting. That's also very important to kind of figure out when you're planning out a setting, which will honestly dictate the colors a lot. So similar to when you're designing characters, you probably want to pick like one main color and then have 2 or 3 secondary and tertiary colors, just so that, again, you're not overwhelming people with like tons and tons of different colors all at once. You want it to feel cohesive and have a mood to it. For example, if you're designing, say, like a kitchen and it's supposed to feel very like warm and welcoming and a place of like safety, you might want to make it all, warm colors. Like maybe your main color is a really warm pink, and then so that is like the main color of the kitchen, and then it's kind of harmonized with some, say, like some soft yellows and maybe some like darker browns or something like that. And those are like the 3 colors you stick with. There might be every once in a while a little pop of color elsewhere. However, those are like your main ones to focus on. And if you are, say, working on like, let's go back to that idea of like a street where there's tons of different people, there's going to be like a rainbow of colors out there. You can get away with that, but you have to treat all of your colors the same way. So for example, you can have like this huge rainbow of colors, but if they're all desaturated and maybe cooled down a little bit, they'll fit together and they feel like they all belong together. That's kind of the effect you want to get with all your colors. You don't want them to be clashing and interrupting each other, you know? And that's definitely a concept I will get into later when I talk about coloring your comics. But for now, you just want to figure out, like, if you have a setting that is taking place at different times of day, how will it look when it's nighttime in the setting? How will it look like during the day or during, like, sunset or sunrise or whatever? Whichever times are important to your story, figure out what the setting will look like in those, whether it's colored or black and white. And once you have all that figured out, which may take a little while, it takes me quite a bit, especially the studying aspects. Once you have all that stuff done, you're going to make a nice little reference sheet for yourself. Include your floor plan because it's really nice for when you're, say, blocking out what your characters do. You can draw out where your characters are moving and where they'll be in the room and what camera angles you want to do. That's what the floor plan is really helpful for, so have that. Have your nice 3D version, maybe with a few examples of characters standing in the room. And then, of course, your color palette. And if you have different, say, lightings to a setting for several scenes, include those as well. And there you go, you've got your nice little reference sheet. So that when you're drawing your characters in this scene, you can just pull up your reference and you can draw the background and it's easy peasy. Heck yeah. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it gives you like a starting point with designing settings. Like I said, it took me a long time to get into making them and I'm still learning a lot about them. I'm not perfect with perspective. I usually just kind of guess at it and hope it looks good. But it's still better than nothing, and I would rather have my settings and backgrounds be very character-driven and serve the story rather than making them, like, super perfect right now. It is also very helpful to have all of your references together, similar to the character designs. You can put all your settings together and look at them at once and just make sure that they all feel like they're from the same world. Or if you have 2 rooms in the same house, make sure that they feel similar, stuff like that. You can just get a really nice overview of everything you've made, and they're just so helpful. Yeah, so that is how I design backgrounds and settings, and I wish you luck, because it is tough, but you can do it. I believe in you. You're gonna make this amazing comic, and it's gonna be great. And thank you so much for watching. I like how we're getting a lot of new people who are like, man, she laughs a lot. I'm like, heck yeah, I do. Hello. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really tired, guys. I'm gonna go sleep and draw more stuff. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this challenge. As tired as I am today, and I'm not tired because of working on comics. I'm tired of like other life stuff, just like a busy day where I work hard on my day job and then I have to run around and do stuff after work, and we've been getting up early all week for other stuff, and I'm just like, man, I'm tired, but I'm having a lot of fun touching in with my comic every day and drawing. I feel very productive and effective, and that's nice. I always get a little nervous before I do a recording because I'm always like, oh no, what if I say the wrong thing? But whatever, I guess. I don't know. But as soon as I sit down and record, I'm having a good time. And I really hope these are helpful, and I hope they bring new insights to you. Okay, I'm just rambling now. I'm really tired. I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in a couple days. Goodbye!